And I'm Roger. I'm a retired therapist. Still do some counseling, actually. And this is Barbara, and she has a recent and fresh experience with healing grief.
Yes. I also worked in the mental health field for about a decade, and it failed me. All that I knew did not serve me there. I had to search outside of mental health. I had to search outside of religion. I had to find the solution for healing grief, all on my own. Nobody came to me with information that said, let me show you how to do it. And so that's what I'm doing here today. And I am spreading the word that grief is a healable state, a solvable problem.
Do you have that meme that you encountered earlier today about when does it heal?
Oh, there was I'm a member on a number of grief support groups, and one post on one of the support group pages came up a few months ago, and the person was asking, when does grief end? When does this pain end? And just today I went and I looked at that post. There are 651 comments that essentially are telling this poor person who's begging for an answer, it never heals, never gets better, never, never, never. 651 comments. So if
she was reading them off to me, and they really were never.
And I thought, this is a support group? Is this what the quality of support looks like in our world today, with a grieving person who's asking the question, when will I feel better? Is that the best that we can do? And I say no. And it's okay that it happened. It's okay because it's showing us where we are falling short. But now, with information, with knowledge, information, practice, wisdom, we can teach others how to heal grief if they're willing to participate and try the myriad of processes that are available to try. So, hi, everybody. So glad you're here. Thank you so much for coming in. Mm-hmm. Let me find my notes here. So one of the things we want to talk about today is the idea that grief is a problem, just like any other problem, and it's healable, okay? It's natural for things to heal.
Healing is natural. We rely on that principle all the time. You break a bone, and the primary treatment is set the bone or don't disturb it, and give it time. And healing is natural. Healing wants to happen. It's part of our biological makeup, and it's part of our mental makeup, and we just need to not get in the way of it. And beliefs, a false belief that it can't heal, can get in the way of the healing. For example, if you had a broken leg and you thought that it could never heal, you're just going to get up and walk on it the best you can, and you're doing more harm. So when it comes to grief, if you believe that you can't heal, that can condemn you to stay stuck at a level of pain that, in fact, you don't have to live with. And why exactly people convey that message that you will never heal, I guess it comes from their personal experience. And maybe it's also like a way of trying to honor the dead, if we're talking about a death of a loved one. I love this person so much, I can never heal from the suffering that their demise has caused me. But I don't think you're really helping their spirit or anything by doing that. And I think your love is not something that you have to declare through suffering. You can live a good life and love that person all the more because you have more love to give. I
have more access to more love than I've ever imagined since healing myself. So love and grief are totally in two separate camps. They are not the same thing. In this post that I was referring to earlier, where she said, when does the pain end? And everybody said never. Somebody said, it's the cost of loving. The pain is what you have to tolerate because you loved. And I just want to say, that let's put our critical thinking caps on here for a moment and ask the question, what is love? And what does it feel like? And what is grief? What does it feel like? And do those two descriptions match each other at all?
Also, I want to say, just, disclaimer a little bit. If you're in the very early stages of grief, I'm sure it can be very chaotic, and you don't need to put any pressure on yourself about I have to heal in the early stages. I think in the very early stages, you don't have to do anything, but you may want to just experience what you're feeling deeply, which actually is a form of healing. Yes. Because our feelings are deep and they're real, and they want to express something that's all pent up inside of us. And so I think when you're experiencing that at any stage, it's good maybe with a therapist or by yourself to get in touch with those deep feelings and allow the expression to come out. And you may be surprised what comes out. In fact, if you are surprised, I'd say that's when you're doing the real work, because a lot of this stuff is unconscious. There's expressing to get better, and then there's learning to believing that you can get better, and then there are other ways of calming the body at certain stages of this, where you start to feel better as a result. I know in your case you were doing it with deep meditation, right?
Meditation was a tool that I used to calm my nervous system. And
I want comments coming in.
Yeah, I want to catch up on a few comments.
So it just seems like things are not enjoyable since Sarah's car surfing experience.
Yes, finding enjoyment in life is really challenging. There's a lot of guilt that comes from having a nice experience, because you're like, well, I'm here having this great experience, but my loved one is not. And so I feel guilty for having a good time. I had a hard time leaving my own town. Like, just going outside the city limits felt bad to me. Like, my son couldn't do that anymore. I didn't want to do that anymore. It's a common phenomenon.
This is really interesting. So this person says, I think it says, then I feel guilty.
Yeah.
If you do get better, you feel guilty or suffer less.
Right.
Okay. Well, what do you say? Do you feel guilty?
Well, I think that some of that is put on us by social norms that like this Facebook page where, the woman asked, when am I going to feel better? And everybody said, never, 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 never. And so to be a person who stands out from the norm and say,
says, I feel better.
I do feel better, and I want others to feel better, it makes me a weirdo. And being normal.
Are you dishonoring your son who died because you feel better?
In the beginning, I would have said that, yes, that would feel weird, like a dishonor. But I've understood, I've educated myself, and I've developed practices in my life where that sting of dishonor no longer exists.
So do you feel you still love and honor him just as much?
Oh, even more.
Oh, wow.
Even more. I feel his presence often. It's a very beautiful experience to even just thinking, like just imagining. Let's pretend that I'm imagining my son sitting next to me on, Roger's here and my son's over here. It's like I can almost feel my arm tingling just imagining what it would be like.
So you feel connected with him
playing with
still.
These ideas are really healing. And when you feel a sting of guilt for feeling good, ask yourself, ask your loved one, talk to him. I'm feeling guilty right now for
feeling good.
For feeling good. What do you have to say to me? And imagine what they would say to you. Write it down. Pretend it's coming from them. It doesn't matter if you made it up or if they did.
It's an interesting exercise.
It's
yeah.
like what would they say to you about feeling guilty? And this is not an exercise of shame. They're not going to come to you and go, well, shame on you. Or people have said, your loved ones are sad when you're sad, so don't be sad. That's a guilt trip. They're not sad. They're totally fine with you being sad. But if you ask them, is it okay for me to feel better? They're going to tell you, yes, of course it's okay for you to feel better.
I want to say I love this next comment. It's Brett says, the whole concept of dying is just strange to me. Thank you for that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it is. And we all live with that. You know, in existential philosophy, they say there's two kinds of death. Ready for this? And it's not a joke. There's my death. That's one kind. And then there's the death of everybody else. That's another kind. And it's kind of funny on the surface, but if you really look at it, that's very true. That's our experience. That's what we live. It's like you see people dying in the world or dying around you, or you lose people in your life, and that's one thing. And it's all about, loss, losing something for you. But then there's your death, and you go like, wow. I mean, that's a whole different concept. That how do I manage that? What does it mean? What is it like? Should I be afraid? Am I afraid? Should I look forward to it? Is it a good thing? It's like we have all these questions. And so, yeah, it's a strange thing. It's like we live our lives and we try to establish the best lives that we can and accumulate things and relationships. And we know that it's all, we're going to be going away one day. It's, gosh, I wish people would talk about this more often, actually.
The law of impermanence.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain natural laws that exist in this experience that we're having right now on planet Earth. There are laws like gravity. Gravity is the law that was in place when my son fell off of a canyon wall and fell to the bottom of the canyon. So, gravity, it's a real thing. There are natural laws that exist in our world, and they benefit us. Gravity keeps us on the ground, so we're not floating around and bumping into each other. I don't know,
Well, on the subject of impermanence, just as an example, this is kind of cool. I saw this at the Oregon Country Fair. We live in Oregon, and one year there was a group of Zen Buddhist monks who had a booth there, or they were camping and they had some stuff on display and they were meeting the public. And the fair is 3 days. And what they did was, on the first day, they started a big project, and it was, I'm sure there's a technical name for this, what they do, but they would use colored sand, and they made a really big mandala, and they worked on it constantly throughout the fair, probably 24 hours a day. I don't know, because people tend to stay up all night there. But they would change off, and they had this little device where you'd scoop up the color that you want to apply, and then with this little crank you would deposit a few grains on the surface, and they made this incredibly beautiful mandala, a circular drawing that was very intricate and beautiful. And each one of them contributed, and you could go by, hours later or a day later and see the progress. And they worked on it meticulously, just heart and soul. You could see the guys who were working on it were putting total attention on it, giving it everything. And guess what? On the last day of the fair, toward closing time, they had a little ceremony in which they destroyed the mandala. They just dumped it. And and to do it cheerfully, to do it in an accepting manner. It's like without regret, I guess I'm saying.
Right.
All to kind of live and embody the experience of impermanence. It still kind of bothers me that they did that. It was so beautiful. But anyway, that's the idea.
So
we have to be less attached to believing that things are permanent, because
Right.
they never are. They never are.
Yeah. So nothing is impermanent. It's a natural law. It serves us. If nature did not have its own sort of breakdown and recycling, destruction and rebuild sort of methods, our world would be uninhabitable.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this today, that the promise in the Garden of Eden was supposedly that you live forever.
Right.
And I was saying it would be a very crowded
Right.
planet right now if that was the case.
Yeah, if everybody that ever lived was still living, imagine what
things
our
would look
world
like.
would look like.
Right.
Quite
It's
different,
already
I'm sure.
quite populated.
So yeah, so the law of impermanence is a thing that we have to kind of reckon with. Brett says, do you wonder why he didn't have a miracle and come back? Yes, I did.
Who
In
had
fact,
a miracle?
like my son.
Okay.
And it would really bug me when people would say things like, oh, God protected so-and-so from this terrible thing happening. Isn't that wonderful? And I would be
Thank
like,
you, Karen.
I would be like, yeah.
Sorry.
I would be like, no, I think God's terrible. If he protected your electrical outlet in your house from causing a fire, but he couldn't protect my son, I'm really mad at like how miracles are doled out kind of randomly. Like, you get one, but you don't. And so this idea that a miracle should manifest and my child should be selected out of all the children in the world that are...
Well, I don't think anybody's ever come back yet, except maybe some belief in, a religious belief in Christ. But
these are really deeply spiritual questions, because the question is, are we eternal beings? Are we designed to be eternal beings? And we could debate this with atheists and various religious groups and things like that. But the feelings that I have experienced through meditation give me a storyline that is pretty nice, that I am eternal, and my access to the feelings that I experienced with my son are still available to me today. So in a certain sense, he is here. He is present, and I am present, and we are ever present. And so it's not a belief system, though. It's because I was sick and tired of belief systems. Belief systems had failed me, and I wanted an experiential thing to teach me what I could trust and what I couldn't trust. And what I learned through meditation and breath work is that I can access something sacred and holy, and sometimes the feeling of my son's presence comes through that experience, and it is very enjoyable. And so no, I don't get to hug him, I don't get to smell him, I don't get to have those physical sort of interactions, but hugging and kissing and holding and touching and smelling and all of those sensory experiences, we enjoy them because when we have them, our body says, ooh, thank you. I like that feeling. I like that feeling a lot. And so it's actually a body sensation that you're craving more than you are craving the actual physical presence of the person. You want the end result that you used to get from their physical presence. So you're like, you think that because you got those nice feelings in the past from their physical presence, you think you have to have their physical presence in order to access that feeling again. And you don't. You can access that feeling. It takes some training and some practice, but you can access all kinds of feelings of all kinds of experiences that are not physical. And so this is where, like, I was brought up in church, and it said the things of the world, like, don't get attached to the things of the world. And I thought, well, why not? I like this world. I like the people. I like the food. I like the beauty of nature. Like, why can't I get attached to this world? Why is the Bible telling me, like, here's this beautiful world, now don't get attached to it? It made no sense to me. I thought it was like nonsense. But I'm understanding now that these beautiful experiences of matter and planet and people are beautiful experiences, but our attachment to them can cause us incredible amounts of pain when they become temporary, when they go away. And so we can still love and we can still appreciate, and we can even still, what's the word that I always use? What's the word? It's a desire, a longing. You can still have all the longing in the world for all the things that you have ever wanted. There is nothing wrong with longing for something. The problem comes when we get stuck in a cycle of suffering because our longing is not satisfied.
So every time you experience a loss, it's you could say an opportunity, a forced opportunity to grow, to change, to become more mature in a way. I think there's got to be a lesson in it, and we adapt to life in new ways, the older you get. And we do this, we accumulate these losses as we go through life. Think of a child losing their pet for the first time and how bewildering it is. And as an adult, you've lost relatives and all and had significant losses, and you see that. And of course, you comfort your child, but you're not quite as overwhelmed by the loss as maybe a child is who's experiencing it for the first time. So we get changed. We get changed by the losses in our life, but hopefully we become more mature.
Brett says, I just wanted her to have those experiences. Can we tell the story about the rainbows on the fishing dock?
If you like.
So last summer, I decided to resurrect my son's fishing reel. I had not gone fishing since he passed away in 2012. We used to be a fishing family. And he died in the process of getting down to the river and, during a fishing sort of thing. And so last summer I decided I'm going to get his reel and get a new pole for it because it needed a new pole, and we're going to go fishing. And so we were on this dock fishing, and I thought to myself, I think it's nice to think of Garth being here with us fishing. I think he would really enjoy that I'm back on a lake fishing. I almost feel his presence here. Isn't it strange? And one of the signs for me, and I don't know if Roger really knew this at the time, but was rainbows. Rainbows kind of show up for me in unusual ways. And I always thought, that might be a sign from my son, So
I think you took a picture at the site where he died, and there was a rainbow that appeared in your picture, right? But that you didn't see it. It
wasn't
in
there.
Real life.
It just showed up on the picture. Yeah, weird things with rainbows happen. So anyway, so I was just contemplating, wouldn't it be lovely if my son was here enjoying this fishing with us? Like, is he here with us? I wonder. I kind of feel like he is, but I don't know. And a little while later, you saw something across.
Well, I saw rainbows. I saw, I think 2 rainbows. And they were just out there, like kind of far out over the water. And I mentioned it, and Barbara didn't see it, and
there were no rainbows.
I did see it, and it surprised me that you didn't see it. It wasn't like super close and super vivid, but there was definitely an image of a rainbow or rainbows out over the water.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, you took that to mean that I was seeing something that Garth's presence
It
somehow.
was confirmation that he was present with us, that I couldn't see it, but he could. Very strange. And my grandson was with us too, and he didn't see a rainbow either, but Roger saw it. And so I'm like, okay.
And I don't make stuff up like
He's
that.
not.
I am pretty open to seeing to stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
But.
So the idea that she's missing out on experiences, she's right here. They are here. They are side by side experiencing, especially when we experience joy. They're like, oh, they get to experience it kind of vicariously, I guess, through us. Yes, we do put our lives on YouTube. So not
Karen
immediately,
says
but
she thinks he was there with us both. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Karen.
yeah.
Yep.
Ancient texts show that they lived thousands of years. Billy Carlson has broken these texts open. I don't know who Billy Carson is, but yes, I do. I have heard about this phenomenon, and even in the Bible they talk about Methuselah lived 900 and something years old or something, and I think that aging is something that can be fostered. I mean, anti-aging can be fostered through being very connected with your higher self, God,
Well, living right
holiness,
helps a great
sacredness,
deal. Living in peace, mental peace, and
getting your body into a state of peace is what will give people a long life. I really think people who live long have learned something about, letting things go and relaxing and enjoying. And
I'll share a quick anecdote. We just got a membership at the Y and started swimming, and I used to swim quite a bit when I was, teenager and 20s. And I haven't in a long time. And after going to the pool about 4 or 5 times, I was swimming, and suddenly I started to feel like, I don't know, something came over me. It felt like I was young again. So I felt like my body was working nicely, everything was working right, and I had my stroke, and I didn't have a stroke. I had my swimming stroke.
Swimming stroke.
Yeah, and it felt really good, and I felt like I had eliminated a bunch of aging. I felt young, and it was great. And I thought, wow, this is so cool. My body's doing all the right stuff right now. The breathing and everything felt clear and open, and really nice, really nice. Yeah. So I don't know if that speaks to anti-aging, but I think living right goes a long way toward living well, toward anti-aging.
Grief and any stressor, really, we can attribute to feeling unwell, becoming unwell, disease and illness and things like that. And so this idea that we were talking about earlier, that grief is forever, is so toxic. I'm just, if people only walk away from our lives with the understanding that grief is healable, and that any thoughts other than that do not serve you. Like, just don't entertain them. Even if you haven't figured it out yet and you haven't healed it yet, don't worry about it. Just stick with the thought. It's healable. It's healable. It's solvable. Just make that part of your mission in life, to find your solution. Because it's natural. Healing is natural. Things heal naturally. You get a cut, it heals over. You cut off a limb off of a tree, the tree heals over it. Everything has a natural healing process to it, including grief. Grief is not unique and special in its cursed sort of way. Like a lot of, in my background with religion, I was told that death is the result of sin, that it's the devil's work. The devil is here to kill and destroy and maim, and it's, so death is is the devil's work. And actually, I think that's not true. I think death is a natural process that sustains life. It is unfortunate that
I think
accidents
our
happen.
culture is pretty resistant to the idea that death is a part of life. I mean, obviously, we all have to come to that conclusion eventually, but
Right.
I think we're a very youth and health oriented culture, and that's good. I don't know about maybe we're a little overly youth oriented because there's wisdom in age. However, yeah, I think that some cultures are probably better at accepting death than our culture.
This is a great question here. Let me just double check. Could it be that knowing the truth will set us free? So, the study of truth is called
Epistemology?
epistemology. And truth is a really funny word because truth can be, you know, how people casually say, well, that's my truth, as if their opinion is truth,
Maybe it
It's
is.
like, okay. So, truth is a really hard thing to define and settle in on in our society. But if somebody said to me, uh, the truth is, some people go to heaven and some people go to hell. Okay? They're telling me that that's a truth. That's the truth. Some people go up, some people go down. But I don't have any evidence. I don't have any firsthand experience with that ever happening for anybody ever. So I can't really just buy that as truth. It's a belief.
But the question was about the truth.
The truth. So
Well, if
what
there
is
is truth,
the
yeah, you're saying we can question truth
yeah.
endlessly, which I suppose that's true.
But
Maybe that's the truth. But will the truth set you free? I can think of example. I mean, I'm sure there are examples. I don't know if I can think of them where the truth does set you free. In other words, some of the hard truths in life about death, for example, that you will die, that you will experience significant loss. Those are truths that if you accept them, you can get freed up. I think what you're doing is an example of that. Finally accepting Garth's death in a way that you had been emotionally resisting before.
right.
So accepting the truth of it and feeling freer as a result. I mean, if the truth sets you free, I would say that's an example of it.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't. I asked the question why did an angel come and scoop him up and help him land softly on the ground? Like I had this idea that was a possibility, and I was really mad that he was not rescued. It's like.
But the truth was it didn't
But the
happen.
truth was that doesn't happen.
Or it didn't happen anyway.
It didn't happen.
If it happens tomorrow, okay.
If it happened to somebody else, I'd be like, well, why didn't it happen to me? But I've actually never known anybody to be scooped up by an angel. So when I started getting real with what is true, it helped me. It helped me a lot to know what is true. What is true, actually, I feel like I'm an eternal soul, okay? I feel like it's true that I am eternal, and so is my loved one. We all are. We're all eternal. I feel that. It feels true.
It's kind of hard to imagine being extinguished forever.
Yeah, it just...
It's also hard to imagine living forever, so...
I know that. I kind of would like a redo on my life sometimes. I'd like a slightly different body, It's just, we want different things all the time, so I certainly don't want to live forever. But this idea that what was I saying?
I was reading the comments, so I
lost what I was saying.
truth.
Karen says staying in the state of grief isn't living in the now. I read that in a book recently. Yes.
It's living with your opinion of the way things should have gone, isn't it?
Yeah. When you're in grief, you're saying life is not okay. This is not okay. I don't like this. This will never be okay with me. But you're always referring to a previous event. That event in the
Right.
past is making my current life unacceptable. And
And also,
so,
if you're living like with a lot of mental and emotional resistance to the event, it can make you feel like there's something wrong with you. The belief is this shouldn't have happened to my son. I'm a freak of nature that
let
this happened to me. I outlived my son, right?
right. Let's talk about again the kind of healing that I'm talking about comes at a point in time where an individual is ready. An individual is wanting it, is willing to have it. There is a season for grieving and feeling terrible. I am not encouraging people to skip that aspect of grieving. If anybody is in probably like the first 2 years, I mean, I don't know the magic number, but maybe roughly the first 2 years. If you're in the first 2 years, this is your season for grieving. It's gonna hurt for a season, and that's why if you take nothing away from these talks except that when your season is over, and you'll know when it's over, because this moment is going to come where you're like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of feeling this way. You're going to get clear that it's time to do something different. And it doesn't have to be today. There is a season for grieving, and we need to honor that and appreciate the intense experience. It's not something to be shunned. I want to honor those painful days. I am so thankful for my painful days. They were hard. And
So why are you thankful for them?
I guess it was just a really rich experience. Like, whoa, I did not know that I had that much emotion available in me. Like, what? Like, it blew my mind.
So that's part of the healing, is that going to those depths, isn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. Incredible pain. So I'm not anti-pain, just so you all know. I'm not shunning pain. Pain is totally a human experience. We actually came here for it. We came here to experience the fullness of all that is possible. We came to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good, the good stuff, and the evil, the bad stuff. We wanted to know it all. We didn't want to live in a fairy tale land of perfection, not knowing what all the possibilities were. We wanted to come here and know the good and the bad. And the thing is, it's perfectly safe to experience the bad, because I think we're eternal.
However, we have some choice, and when we do, I hope we create good. Maybe not everyone would agree with that,
Right.
But yeah.
We do want to create good. We got some comments. History, anthropology, study of ancient history and cultures. To light are not hidden anymore. Oh yeah, these ancient texts. I'm really interested in that kind of stuff, these ancient texts. We are biologically capped on our telomeres, etc. Telomeres. That's DNA. I know what he's talking about.
Okay.
That's a big subject, Brett. But I know what you're talking about. I think pain, if allowed, deepens one's mind.
Yeah, it makes you a bigger person as long as you're not attached to it. There is such a thing as just kind of regurgitating the same old pain over and over and over and over and over that I don't think is healthy. But that's why, as a therapist, I would encourage people to go very deep into their pain and then experience it fully. And like I always say, once you do that, you don't have to do that again. You may visit related pain in a slightly different way, but once you have a deep experience of a particular pain, you don't have to repeat it. In fact, that's very often, kind of the attitude coming out of a session like that is people will say, I'm not going to ever do that again. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say I'm going to block it forevermore. It means I don't need to do it again.
Right.
It's like I saw the depth of that pain, and now it's out, and I, as a therapist, witnessed it, which is an important part of this, too, to be able to share with somebody, whoever it is, a loved one, a therapist, someone you trust, to share the pain, someone who can receive it without making big judgments about it, but just be there with you and support you through that.
I worked in mental health. I believed in talking about pain, processing pain, all of that, but there was something about my grief that was not thoroughly processing. I was regurgitating, going over it and over it and over it.
Chris says Roger.
And I didn't really understand what fully experiencing it meant. And through the assistance of certain plants that I consumed that grow in nature, in forests and things like that, I had I had several, but I had the first 3 experiences with those plants were all about experiencing pain, really processing pain. You think your pain is bad? Let me show you pain. And it showed me what pain was. And I was like, wow. So I processed my own pain. I processed the pain of the world. I processed the pain of Jesus. I mean, these 3 sessions all day long, pain. And when I did my 4th experience, it was done. I didn't have to do it anymore.
There you go.
And I got to have a 4th experience that was incredibly beautiful.
Yeah.
So clearly the intelligence of the plants knew what I needed to do, and it made me do it, and it was not very fun. I did not like it. I do not recommend it. As far as experience goes, it was a hard experience to go through, but it helped a lot. No, Chris, not that one. It was in the Fantastic Fungi family. Yeah, so not the green one, but the brown one. Okay, you told me you were...
I don't know what that means.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, so the thing that I learned, though, about plants is that they are teachers, but they are not the problem solvers. They can show you certain things, but then you need to integrate the experience and do additional work in your normal everyday life and take the information and apply it to your life. So it is not a magic pill. It's not going to solve the problem. It can sometimes be really painful and unpleasant. So tread carefully in that, and don't do anything illegal or dangerous. Don't get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
These are things. So
appointment tonight. I think we should start wrapping up.
Yes, weird that plants know more than we do or can teach us.
Mm-hmm.
I know, isn't that interesting? I love that dinosaur movie where the guy says life will find a way. And it's like whatever we need in our life, it's almost like life will provide us the answers in some incredible way. Life will find a way to do what it wants to do. I forget, Jurassic Park, I think, was the movie, and the scientist guy was saying life will find its way.
Well, you're talking about being open to the lessons rather than trying to control everything.
Yeah. We want to head out a little bit early tonight because we have an appointment but I wanted to make sure that everybody's questions. Yes. Expanding our consciousness, Brett, is what healing grief and all suffering is about. When your consciousness is expanded, things appear differently to you. Your perceptions are changed. And so, yes, expanding consciousness is what we're talking about here. So, again, you guys, thank you so much for coming to this live today and participating.
Right.
Every day that we do this, we just feel so blessed. It's really such a privilege. Thank you, KT, for the rose. That's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to be back on Wednesday at noon, next Thursday at 6 p.m. And I will be posting these lives on our YouTube. Same handle, Healing Grief 24, so you can find this material there. We usually come with an agenda of sorts that we've written out, and then sometimes we just go with what you guys are interested in talking about. So
yeah, we like the interaction.
So sometimes we talk about the same stuff each time because that's what the audience is asking for. So as you watch our YouTubes, you might hear us repeat some of these things, but I personally learn from repetition, so I'm okay with it. But you're welcome. So, and thank you for coming here. We appreciate you all. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.